Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you all? Thanks for waking up today. Thanks for being here. My love to everyone who was with me over the weekend for the group alignment session. Here for another fantastic week. Super excited to be able to have this time with you all. So thank you. My love to all of you. There's a lot of ground to cover today, so I want to get started. Just want to get on a bit, give everyone an opportunity to join here on Zoom as well as on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell button so you get the notifications when I go live there too. And if you've not yet done so, of course, head on over to panachesci.com to stay connected to an ever-expanding global community that is really embodying a way of being that will one day become, in the future, how we relate to ourselves and each other. So, super happy about that. Good morning, good morning. All right. So, I think we'll still give it a few more seconds, wait till everyone hops on. Morning, Mary. Morning, Gabby. Morning, Robert. Morning, Kennedy. Morning, Catherine. Good morning. Good morning, Eves. Everyone in Houston, love you. Good morning, Connie. Morning, Joni. Morning, Chris. Morning, Chris. Morning, Teresa. Morning, Robbie. Morning, Sada. Morning, Stephanie. Morning, Michelle. Morning, Mary Pat. Love to all of you from all over the world. Thanks for rewatching the Omega Weekend. All my love to you. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Kathy. Okay. All right, I want to get into it. As we observe the world and observe world events and begin to get in touch with what's happening, not just in our neck of the woods, but seemingly on every corner of the planet, of course, it's easy to begin to experience some level of fear or succumb to the anxiety-producing narratives and headlines that we're being bombarded with. It's easy to forget that peace is our natural state of being, that we love each other, that we make it. It's easy to be overwhelmed or to have our psyche hijacked by intense emotion and opinions that seemingly are polarizing. And this is why I have so diligently and with such conviction doubled down on peace, on the acceptance of ourselves, on life, on who we are as the solution and the answer. Because in case you hadn't figured it out by now, if you are sourcing your truths and your certainty from outside of you, then you are lost. You are lost. Because according to everyone else's narrative and description of the world, we are on the brink of extinction. But yet when you search your heart and you tap into your intuition, you can see that there's something very powerful emerging here, something very powerful arising. And it is amazing how often all of you trend toward global events as a point of disqualification when they're not. Did you think that in the middle of the ascension of an entire species that things were just going to be hunky-dory and everyone was just going to sing Kumbaya? No. We signed up to go through some things. However, thanks to your willingness to love yourself and to be all that you are, I would like to think that humanity is going through a much milder version of all of this. That yes, we have to mature as a species. Yes, we have to leave behind things that are primitive and animalistic, things that don't serve us, things that have us waking up and believing that somebody outside of us is a threat or that we have to be afraid of them. Of course, these are all collective delusions. But do we have to empower them? No. Do we have to hold these seeds of division as our truth? No, we don't. Because the truth is, I couldn't care less what you look like. It doesn't matter to me what religion you are. It doesn't matter to me what you have or don't have. I don't even care Whether you come here and receive what I'm saying or come here and fundamentally disagree, it just doesn't matter to me. And why it doesn't matter is because there is no qualification or disqualification as it relates to your own innermost being. None. And so yes, people all over the world are going through things. There is an alleviation of the intense repression or suppression that we've engaged in, or control that we've engaged in as a species. So yes, it looks messy. But of course, after a while, we get to a place where it's like, well, fine. My contribution to all of this is to remain in my heart, to remain in what I know to be the truth, and to remain in love. Now, am I going to feel anxious? Of course I am. But am I going to allow that anxiety to overrun me? No. Why? Because it's a part of my experience. It's not the totality of who I am. In that same way, am I going to experience frustration or anger? Of course I am. I'm human. But am I going to let it overwhelm me and run my life? No. Because it's not the truth of who I am. It's an experience. It's a fleeting experience. And so you are all innately blessed in ways that other people have yet to remember that they're blessed. And rather than focusing on external points of disqualification, flashpoints in the world, civil unrest, a collective ungender, conscious or unconscious, moving us towards some dystopian future that we will never reach, because consciousness, light, love, presence will always win. The consciousness that dwells within you will always win. After a while, we have to realize that we're in the right place, and that humanity at large is experiencing everything that it has to. All of these isms and schisms that are rearing their head in the modern world are not new. We're just finally seeing them all. We're finally becoming aware of them all. All of this stuff that was deeply repressed or suppressed within people is now being revealed. That's a source of celebration. Is it messy? Sure. But is it something that we have to be afraid of? Absolutely not. And so, I'd like you all, as much as possible, to remember who you are, to remember why you're here, and to also remember why you don't fit in and why you don't belong. And I would like you to remember that all of those headlines, all of those narratives, all of those stories that have a spin on them, that have heightened emotion attached to them, that are designed to hijack your psyche so you can't see clearly, that you don't fit in, you don't belong, that those stories, those narratives, those opinions don't apply to you. And they don't apply to you because you've experienced the truth. You see? And the truth that you've experienced is love. Look, every morning, somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 people every day from all over the world, as different can be, come together. Why? Because we love each other. Because we know that peace is entirely possible. We know that we're going through a massive shift on this planet. And we know that we're here to be anchor points of this peace and this potential at this time on this planet. You've always known it. And so stop applying the rules of the world, the distortions of the world to you when they've never applied to you. You don't fit in and belong in any of them. At some point, you have to realize that you're not fitting in and you're not belonging as a blessing, because you've come here to pioneer a new way of being, a different way of being. And it's not necessarily that it's new, it's just one that's aligned. It's one that's in harmony with everything. It's one that's in tune with life, one that naturally moves with a rhythm and cadence that's authentic. It's aligned with nature. And so, as with all things, yes, we're going to have days like today. Yes, we're going to have opinions and narratives. Yes, we're going to have heightened emotion. Yes, everybody's going to be hijacked by opinions and by emotions. Of course they are. But where we're blessed is that we've laid a foundation now for 1,284 days, if I'm not mistaken, maybe more, of self-acceptance. of realizing that being a human being is not a problem. It's not an issue. It's something that we can actually embrace, that we can accept. That actually being a human being is what makes everything else possible. So the problem is not that we're human. The question now is, what are we going to do with our humanity? What are we going to do with it? How are we going to make the most of it? What's our contribution? Well, I know that my contribution is to be peaceful, is to be here with all of you. Now, is it a perfect science? No. Do I have moments of feeling frustrated? Yes. Am I saddened when I see things happening in the world? Yeah. I can't understand them. I can't understand why in 2024 we are still behaving this way with each other. And we are. Does my heart break? Sure. Do I let it? Of course I do. Why? Because everything is showing me what I have to yet embrace within myself. It's moving me into a deeper appreciation of life itself, and it's moving me into a deeper ability to love all that I am, and then in return love others. So, we have to recognize the opportunity in all of this. We have to recognize the blessing in all of this. And I know on some days it doesn't look very much like a blessing, but there is one. And you have been perfectly created in every way and had every experience that you're supposed to have to be able to be that blessing. Do you honestly think that the world needs your anxiety and your fear and your overwhelm and your upset? And if that's how you're feeling, it's fine. But does the world really need that right now? Does it? Or does the world really need your peace? Or could the world really use your peace? I'd like to think that the world could really use our peace. Could really use our ability to see beyond all of the superficial differences. It's not going to be a technological advancement that carries us over the finish line. It's going to be our ability to love ourselves. It's going to be our ability to walk through our lives loving ourselves, which then in turn empowers us to love others, to deploy that empathy and that compassion for others. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle, to go with the herd. It takes courage to be unique, to be an individual, and to feel and to experience and to live the way that you are. It's why I love being here every day. I love being here every day because it provides us a framework and a platform through which we get to experience our lives. And while other people are seemingly making things that are not very important, they're important to them, they're just not important to us. We can continue to be a place of calm and peace for the most part. It's not a perfect science. You will have your moments of whatever. And after a while, day by day, the world edges ever closer to loving itself, to accepting itself, to embracing itself, to also evolving beyond all of these superficial differences that have been empowered to divide us, that in fact we ourselves have kept in place. So this morning, if you don't mind, how about we just open our hearts to everyone? You're fortunate enough to be here with every morning, and you know exactly why everything's coming up in you, why everything's going on. Other people have no idea why they're experiencing such intense emotions, why they have these intense feelings toward other people. They don't know. They have no clue. They're going through it, and they have no way of realizing what they're going through and what the purpose of it is. In fact, in some ways, Called Calm came into being because there was nobody who could explain all of these things to me. And so, you don't fit into the world. You don't belong in the world. Why subscribe to the news and the narratives and the division? If you don't fit in, then how about you completely don't fit in? And how about in your not fitting in, you uncover a place of peace and calm within you that's always been there? That's the essence and the truth of who you are. You can't help other people. You have to be the peace for you. You have to be the love for you. You have to be the light for you. So, take some breaths, breathe and relax. And this morning, figuring out how to separate the signal from the noise. What is the noise? Division, separation, hatred, fear, the hijacking of the human psyche through heightened emotion and narratives, through every possible avenue of communication that we've created. And what's the signal? Love, peace, harmony. And just figuring out for yourselves in your own experience, which outcome, which embodiment, which manifestation of yourself is more likely to produce the global shift that you're hoping and praying for every day. Is succumbing to all of the noise going to produce that? Or is remaining steadfast in the knowing that you have of your own essence, your own love, your own being, your own divinity, your own truth, going to be that? I'll give you a few moments to figure it out for yourselves. And when you begin to accept and love who you are and cultivate your ability to deepen that, well, then you can accept and love others where they are. Again, perfect science? No. There are days where you're going to have a hard time with everything. The difference is you're not going to be suffering because of it. Why? Well, because for the most part now you don't have a problem with being a human being. So I'm going to express a radical thesis here, a radical idea. Maybe human beings have a problem with each other because they're incapable of being with their own humanity. Because they're living in a more adolescent manifestation of being human, it's much easier for them to make it about other people, the other, whatever the other of the day is, than it is to be accountable and responsible for what's going on within them, and to meet whatever's going on within them with some semblance of grace. I don't think people have issues with other groups of people. I feel human beings have not been empowered to be with themselves. And all of this stems from a lack of awareness, a lack of maturity, and a lack of accountability and responsibility for one's own experience. Here's the funny thing. The more accountable and responsible you become seemingly for your own life and your own experience of being a human being, the less you have time to focus on anyone else's. So human beings don't actually have a problem with other human beings. They're only ever having a problem with their own humanity because they've been told that they're supposed to. And instead of accepting and embracing this part of themselves, they make it about other people. So where the majority of the planet's still living in a hall of mirrors where people are just projecting their own distortions onto each other, We've extricated ourselves from the Hall of Mirrors, for the most part. You will have your moments. And you've extricated yourselves from the Hall of Mirrors, which is basically Maya, Samsara, the Matrix, the simulation, into now recognizing that actually you don't have to source the experience of yourself through other people. So many of you actually now know that even death isn't the end of you. Even death isn't the end of you. So where other people are still afraid and are still worried and don't have this resource every day, at some point we have to be the part of the world that can see clearly. You know, I find being a human being fascinating. For all of the ways we seemingly don't get along, have a hard time with each other, some of these are generational stories, there are just as many stories of people who have found a way to get along with each other and to love each other in spite of their differences. In fact, the people who love each other and the people who have actually found a way to get along with each other in spite of their differences is actually the majority. There is, of course, still a holdout minority that is still living in blame, trauma, drama, projection, reflection. That will one day, in fact, get there. But when they do, it's going to be shocking for them. In the way that I guess it was shocking for so many of you when you first realized that you were one with everything, one with everyone. We're really not that different at all. So, I get it. I understand. But at some point, we just have to allow ourselves to be different. Why? Because being different is what allows you to make the difference. You don't have a problem with another human being. You have an inability to love and accept yourself. You don't have a problem with another human being. You have an inability to love and accept and embrace yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? The only difference is that if you're within the sound of my voice, you actually have the capacity to love and accept yourself. That's the difference. I'm going to share something with you, and it's going to sound a bit fatalistic, but I mean it to inspire hope. We cannot expect other people to do things for us. We cannot expect institutions and organizations to advocate on behalf of us. We have to be that place within ourselves, for both ourselves and the world, and I know some days it's tiring and exhausting for you. But that's why we will come together here, so that you can remember that you're not alone. And I just want you to know that this isn't anything new, not your first rodeo. It's not the first time that you've gone through something like this on this planet, and it won't be the last. But here's the good news. Remember that in the end, humanity makes it. That we mature beyond all of these superficial differences that we continue to hold on to as absolute truths when they're not. That people actually forgo the need to fix, heal, change and improve and understand, and they finally allow themselves to access everything that you've accessed over the course of the last 1,284 days of Call to Calm. So where everyone else is living in the delusion that we're one step closer to annihilation, I'm living in the truth that we're one step closer to liberation. So just take some breaths. Turn off the news, get off of social media, and focus on your self, your acceptance, your love of yourself, your ability to be who you are, your ability to navigate your own humanity. Because it's about to get very noisy. And that noise has been created specifically to hijack your psyche, to elicit heightened emotion, so that you cannot see or think or reason, so that you are devoid of awareness. Because a human being has been hijacked by heightened emotion, is in survival, and they are incapable of seeing the other person as themselves. So if you don't mind, I'm going to focus on the squirrels. I'm going to focus on the birds. I'm going to focus on the trees. I'm going to focus on the sky. I'm going to focus on nature and all of you as a beautiful and exquisite extension of nature. And I have no need to participate in anything else, because I don't fit into that world. I don't belong in that world. I'm not a part of that world. I never have been. So why start now? If you don't mind, I'm just not going to fit in. I'm not going to belong. I'm going to have my own unique experience of being a human being. And a big part of that is finally allowing myself to be the way that I was created to be. So if you don't mind, that's what I'm going to do. And that doesn't mean that everything isn't happening all over the world. Of course it is. It just means that we're far more useful when we actually remember the harmony of things, when we actually remember the oneness of things, that peace is possible. We're far more useful. And so, permission to not participate, but instead to be a peaceful, loving place to the best of your ability. And listen, are you going to get sucked in? Of course you are. Are people going to make you wrong for not being more upset? Of course they are. But does that mean that you have to forgo your knowing and your heart and who you've come here to be? Of course not. We've been here for 1,284 days, and we'll be here until humanity crosses the finish line. Why? Because what else are we going to do? All we've got is love. All we've got is each other. What else are we going to do? So I'm personally excited. I'm not afraid. I feel that sooner or later we're going to move beyond all of these superficial limitations that we hold as absolute truths. And we're going to wake up to the truth that we're all the same light, love, and presence. And that day is coming. In fact, that day is here. Because on the day that you get it, well, on that day everyone else gets it too. Go figure. So, people can keep their intensely emotional opinions and perspectives. I'll keep the squirrels and the woodchucks and the birds and the trees and the grass and the sky and the clouds. water, beautiful rolling green hills, everything that is in harmony, everything that knows itself, everything that just is. I'll choose that. And I also like to remind you that actually great sweeping change on the planet has never happened through an act of violence. Racism was put to bed by a half-naked Indian man who highlighted the extent of racism. It was then borrowed by our African American brothers and sisters, who then used that same way of being, non-violence, to highlight their plight as well. So we don't win by engaging with the projections. We don't win by engaging with the distortions. We win by making the whole world aware of the fact that they still exist. And don't you think that everyone's doing a good job of showing everyone else that these things still exist? What they don't realize is that by revealing all of these things in the light of day, they are guaranteeing their own extinction. Because as you and I both know, that which we become aware of, that which we become aware of, ceases to exist. I love you all. You have nothing to fear. You have nothing to be afraid of. You have peace. You have an awareness of who you are. You have love. You have knowledge of self. You have nothing to be afraid of. Sometimes we reach inflection points in the movie that just seem very compelling. And yet, if you've been alive for long enough, you'll recognize that humanity and the human spirit always finds a way. Why? Because it's supposed to. We're supposed to make it. We're supposed to be here. And it's only a matter of time until everyone on the planet realizes what we explore here every day. Human beings don't have a problem with other human beings. They're just not accountable and responsible for their experience of being human. They still have the luxury of making it about others. You and I both know that all we have is the ability to love these parts of ourselves and accept them and embrace them. That's all. Laurel. Stop typing Om Shanti, squirrel, tree, sunflower, rainbow. Thank you, Laurel. Day 1284 on planet Earth. Yes, the Earth is still spinning. And we are still breathing. And as long as one of us remembers, there's hope. Okie dokie. Shall we? Let's do it. Close your eyes, you beautiful humans. Open your palms and take some long, deep cleansing breaths. Good morning, sweet friends, and welcome to another Call to Calm meditation. Call to Calm began at a moment in human history where we were riddled with uncertainty, and individuals were facing seemingly insurmountable problems and issues on a daily basis. Our peace was not manufactured in an ashram or a curated environment like a Vipassana retreat. Our peace was forged in the fire of human experience, in the midst of chaos, where all around us were losing their heads. We would come here every day, cultivate a deeper acceptance of ourselves, cultivate a deeper love of ourselves, and in doing so, we were rendered capable and empowered to live our lives. Call to Calm has cultivated an empowered community that has gone through every single permutation of being human imaginable and has done so for the most part peacefully. Have we had our moments? Of course we have. We're human. However, we have not allowed our past to define us. We've not allowed ourselves to live or perpetuate this false notion of limitation. We found a way. And we found that way together. And I love you for it infinitely. If you're new, I want you to know that you're not alone. That there are people all over the world who feel exactly like you, who experience reality in exactly the way that you do. And that you are not alone. I've come here to let you know today that if you don't fit in, then please don't start to try to fit in now. There's a reason why you don't fit in and why you don't belong. Live your life in your way, have your own unique experience, and realize that you haven't come here to participate in the noise. You've come here to be a part of the signal, a part of the stillness, a part of the silence that spans throughout the infinite mystery of life. Close your eyes, you beautiful human beings, and open your palms. And take some long, deep cleansing breaths. Resting in the awareness of your breath transforms your life into a living meditation. This morning, allowing your every inhalation and exhalation to liberate you from suffering, from duality, from polarity, from stress, from overwhelm, from anxiety and survival. Welcoming your every inhalation and exhalation. And giving yourself the gift of your light, of your love, of your presence. This morning, I'd like you to imagine, envision, see, feel, hear, experience, or know for a moment that you're not just an individual, but you're a country, a nation. Seeing what you look like on the map. And also becoming aware of, as a nation, the borders and the boundaries and the illusions that you have in place. That consciously or unconsciously you may still feel need to enforce every day in your life. And just allowing every other person here to be a nation too. And everyone else also becoming aware of their boundaries, their borders, that they believe that they have to enforce as well. With every breath, as and when you feel comfortable, allowing all of your borders and boundaries to begin to dissolve. And allowing everyone else who's gathered here to allow their borders and their boundaries to also dissolve. Instead of having points of demarcation or delineation on the planet for where one nation begins and another one ends, now there's just a collective experience called being human. And everyone is a part of it. And in that same way, everyone deserves your peace. Everyone deserves your love. Everybody deserves to be close to your heart. Just allowing yourself to feel what it feels like to be beyond boundaries and borders. And to live with an open heart. And to simply be there for people who are ready to be loved. An ever-increasing minority every day. Continuing to rest in the awareness of your breath. Imagining a world, experiencing it from your own perspective, where we no longer have borders and boundaries. Instead, we have acceptance and love. And that in time, over the course of a few generations, human beings love and accept themselves so sufficiently so that we no longer waste our time arguing with each other or engaging in disagreements. Instead, we turn our attention toward the collective betterment of us all. Seeing every person living in peace, sleeping peacefully in their beds. Every corner of the globe peaceful. Everybody freed of survival. No longer harboring any intense emotion or feeling within themselves that they have to project onto another. It's as if the earth were a golden orb of light. One collective, cohesive experience. And that in the nation that you are, in the country that you are, the sovereign state that you are, the mandate is love. And just seeing all of this stuff that's been deeply repressed or suppressed in people generationally, just lifting up and out of them like grey ash or smoke. You know, the stuff that you used to have, like hatred. The stuff that you used to have, like fear. Just seeing everyone on the planet being alleviated of everything related to survival. Everything coming into everyone's awareness. And everything being lifted up and out of everyone that they've repressed or suppressed or denied. It doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter what you look like. Couldn't care less what you have. Your accomplishments mean nothing here. And your lack of accomplishment also means nothing here. Because here there are no requirements. You're just loved and there's nothing that you can do about it. You're valued and there's nothing that you can do about it. You can be at peace and there's nothing that you can do about it. A golden planet, a golden future. A golden humanity where everyone allows themselves to become aware of the light, the love, and the presence that dwells within them and everything else. Allowing your heart to open. Finding a sense of peace within yourself that's unshakable. And allowing your heart to open. We didn't come here to fit in and belong. We came here to be peaceful and to love. We didn't come here to fit in and belong. We came here to be peaceful and to love. And how infinitely do I love you? Infinitely. Take some breaths and just notice how you feel. Aren't you glad you don't fit in and you don't belong? I am. You're not fitting in and not belonging. It's what allows you to embody the future potential and possibility of what it means to be a human being. So while all around you are hijacked by intense emotion and opinion, you can be a place of peace. And above and beyond all things, you can love yourself. Don't forget who's really in charge. Don't forget that there's an infinite intelligence at work in all things. And that power is greater than any human being, any organization, any system, or any structure. That's a love that's infinite. And that's a love that's yours. Okay, today's Monday. Before you know it, it's going to be Friday. And I promise you, there will be a Friday. God willing, you'll all be here to see it. And that's the blessing of life. Today we have a group alignment session. A group alignment session is your opportunity to be supported personally by this presence in a group setting. Somehow, some way, everybody who comes receives exactly what it is that they need. And their lives go on to be freed of suffering, pain, separation, and struggle. They come to know themselves, and they come to forge a deeper relationship with who they really are. In the event that resonates with you, come to today's group alignment session. Also, we've got an impact call tonight, so if you're on that, I'll see you there. And also, next Saturday, the day after my birthday, I'm going to be hosting a very special online opportunity for us to be together. And to remember that we must cultivate the courage and the conviction to keep going. And that the more we cultivate that courage and conviction to keep going, the more we seemingly align with our hearts. Align with the truth of ourselves. And so if that resonates with you and you'd like to come hang out with me for 5 hours online, I'd love to be with you. For some reason, every time everybody asks me what I want to do for my birthday, I can't find anything better to do other than do what I was born to do, which is hang out with all of you and share the totality of all that I am. So, sending you all a big hug. Today's monologue, for obvious reasons, will be available on YouTube. Please make sure that you populate all of your social media channels with links to it. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Turn your notifications on so that you can be made aware of when that weekly meditation and monologue is posted there. Also, please remember that there are a lot of people that are going to be lost in fear, that are going to be overwhelmed by hatred and anger, and that are going to be hijacked by all of the intensely emotional opinions and perspectives that they're being bombarded with. Remain peaceful. Remain calm. To borrow a line from my favorite book, don't panic. Come back to the breath and just allow yourself to remember who you are, to remember why you're here, and to celebrate the fact that you're different than everyone else. And most important of all, don't panic. Take care, you beautiful humans. I'm honored and proud to know you. I'll see you all, if not later today for the group alignment session, then tomorrow morning for another monologue, meditation, and another wonderful opportunity for us to remember who we are, why we're here, and what this whole thing is really about. I love you with all my heart. Thanks for loving me. Be well.